Hi Glam fam, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Whether you're a new subscriber or an old subscriber, welcome back. Thank you all for staying true. I can't believe that this is like a week since I last made a long form video. I'm so sorry for ghosting you guys. I'm so sorry. I apologize. Just work has been really crazy and I haven't really had time. But then let's get into this video. I promise to change, henceforth. I always promise, but true, I promise to change this time around. Okay, so as usual, I'm doing her skin prep, and I started off with hydrating, and then using the serum from Omari Code, and I'm just using this to further hydrate her skin, because it is very essential that you hydrate your client's face. Whether your client has an oily skin or a dry skin, it doesn't matter. You must hydrate. Next, I'm going in with my moisturizer from TM Essential. I love this moisturizer because of how good it is, and it just plumps the skin up. I'm just massaging this into her skin, still focusing under her eyes and stretching all over her face, and just blending that out before I go in with my primer. And the primer I'm using is from Omari Code Matte O'Clock. And this primer is very good, and my client has an oily skin, so I'm just going to prime the whole of her face with this primer. And then because of her skin type, I'm double priming, so I'm going to use this Rimmel Matte Stay Matte, and I'm just using this on the sides of her nose, to block everywhere that may produce excess oil, and just blend that before I go with my foundation. After her face is dry, I went in with my foundation, blending this section by section with my stipple brush. I like to use a brush to blend because it gives me a very lightweight finishing instead of a beauty blender. I don't know, but then that's just what works for me. So I just do that. And then there's so many factors to consider when picking your foundation, like undertone, skin type. These things are very important. You should know them at the back of your hand so that it helps for you, when you're picking out your foundation, you won't make a mistake, because once your foundation is wrong, that's the basis of your makeup falling apart or not looking nice at the end of the day. So you have to, make sure that you have this all checked out. Afterwards, I went in with my blush application, and I'm just blending this out on the apples of her cheek, and then stretching it a little bit on her temples, and just blending that out. Then I went in with my concealer. For concealer, I use 2 shades lighter at first. I like to have, a really bright under eyes, because as far as I'm concerned, that's what lifts the face and, enhances the face. So I do 2 shades lighter, and I just apply this under the eye, the T-zone area. So after applying that, I go in with my brush. I just use my brush to blend. For under her eyes, I like to use a soft damp beauty blender. This helps me, to have more precision while blending under her eyes, and also it's going to give me a better coverage than a brush. So I like to use this to blend, and I'm blending gently. I am not going harsh. I'm blending gently because I do not want to lift the products while blending. So I don't want to take away too much of the product. I just want it to look as flawless as possible. I am not over blending. I'm just, making everything look very seamless. And I like to do a double concealer. That means I like to go in with another shade that is lighter than the initial shade that I used. So I use that after blending that out, and just pop on the eyes a bit more, so this gives a brighter under eye, and it makes it look all put together. I don't know if this makes sense. For contour, I'm just using a dark shade of foundation. Now the client's skin is already very dark, so this did not do so much. So but I just did a little and I just left it, blended and left it. I went ahead to apply my powder. Before going in with setting powder, I used my powder to just set and make sure that the concealer is dried out so that it doesn't move and there are no creases. So I do this before going in with setting powder. You can decide to go in straight with your setting powder, but I do not like the harsh or flashbacks that I get from using setting powders directly. So I use this first before going in with setting powder. And then I went ahead to contour the rest of her face, with a dark powder, or let's say bronzer, and I contoured and then went ahead to do the nose contour, just to add in more depth to the already cream contour that I had already done initially. I went ahead to spray her face, just to lock everything in before going in with my setting powder. I'm now baking her face with my setting powder. It's very important for you to bake or to set your client's face. If you do not like to bake, maybe you do not like the full coverage, but then you can also set. That means you're going to use a lighter weight or a lighter quantity of your setting powder. But it's very important that you do this, as it helps, to prevent creasing. It helps to make your makeup look smooth and gives a matte finish. Then I took off her elastic band and then went ahead to blend the lines out with a tiny brush. Please, if you're working on a client that has her lace frontal done and she has a hairband, please, to avoid soiling the lace, you have to use a very tiny brush to blend out the lines and then blend in darker shade of foundation into her skin, avoiding the hairline completely. Then I went in with my eyeshadow primer because I like to do the eyes first before doing the brows. I don't know why, but I just like this technique. So I'm blending this out because you're not supposed to have harsh lines. Once you apply your dry products on this cream without blending out the harsh lines, that's how your eyeshadow is going to stay. For my eyeshadow, I'm starting off with this warm orange color as my transition shade, and I'm just blending this on her crease, dragging her from the inner corners of her eyes to the outer corner of her eyes on the crease. Just blending that. As you can see, I'm not extending it down to the eyelid. Then I go in with a darker shade of eyeshadow on the outer corner of the eyes and just dragging it up onto the crease and blending it out. I'm building it up that color. I keep building to when I get to what I want. I am not going off all harsh. At the same time, I am also blending still with my transition shade to make sure everything is smooth. Then I make my base for my pigments, because I'm going to be using pigments. So I'm creating my base still with a dark eyeshadow, and this is the pigment I'm going to be using. It's from ZAYA'S Cosmetics, and I'm applying that after applying a pigment glue. Please do not use pigments directly on the eyes without glue, as it will not stick and there will be so much fallout you get. So you need to use a glue to apply your pigments and just build up onto what you want and make sure that everything is nicely blended and there are no harsh lines, and it doesn't look tacky. For my eyeliner, I'm using this gel liner from ZAYA'S Cosmetics, and I'm just using this to line her under eyes. I'm not a big fan of liquid liners, so I prefer to use gel liners, and I'm using this with this tiny brush, to give me more precision, and I'm just lining this, making sure not to overline. And then I went in with my powder, to just sweep off the excess powder or excess setting powder I had on her skin. I just blended that in to make sure I have a smooth and matte finishing. So I'm just blending this, pressing it into her skin. Then I go in to, blend the rest of her face with a bigger brush, to just make sure that everything is properly blended and there are no harsh lines anywhere whatsoever. Next, I'm applying her blush all over her cheekbone and just blending that in, on both sides of her face and extending it to her forehead area and temples. I'm making sure to blend in perfectly, leaving no harsh lines whatsoever because you do not want to have harsh lines. Next, I'm going in with this matte spray from Cosmetics, to just lock everything in. I'm using these two shades of lipsticks from Beacham Ageless Cosmetics and Avar Cosmetics to just, do her lipstick, and I'm using the darker shade from Beacham to outline her lips and blend that in before going in with the nude color from Avon Cosmetics in the center of her lips. And I'm just blending everything out nicely and making sure there are no harsh lines and there's no demarcation between where the dark color starts and ends. I'm just making sure to blend that in using a blending brush. And then I went in with my lip gloss. Using the Super Silhouette, I lock in her face and then I go in with my Avon Cosmetics mascara and I just, brush out her bottom lashes. I use my Glow Balm from Cosmetics just on her forehead. Then I go in with my highlighter from Super Cosmetics just on her nose. I'm not using it all over her face. I just want the shine only on her nose. Then I go back in with my powder to take off all of that shine from the setting spray because I want the makeup to look matte. So I go back with setting powder, just dab it slightly gently all over her face, nothing too much. You have to be careful when doing this so you don't lift your makeup that you had already done. This is the finished look after we tied her gilly and accessorized her. We just went ahead to take videos and take shots because this was a shoot. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for staying true. God bless you all. I love you. Mwah.